times do we do that? How many times do you judge someone that you don't even know? Like you haven't even spoke to them, but you already perceive what they're about, not knowing anything about them. And then you get to know them and you're like, oh my gosh, what an amazing person. Yeah. It's kind of like what Steve Hardison, what he said on the BNS. He's like, people ask me all the time, and this is me, so I understand and I can relate to him. People ask me all the time, how can you love someone you don't know? Yeah. How can you love someone you don't know? And he says, the same way you can hate someone that you don't know. Yeah. The same way you can judge someone that you don't know.
I'll tell you one, Donald, not Trump, but Donald that I worked with at MD Helicopters. I remember, this is a lesson that I remember. And I've mentioned it before, but his name, like I'll always probably remember his name because of this experience. But I remember people put it in my head that he was an asshole. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing it, and I was just expecting him just to be an asshole. And then I worked with the guy. And then I was like, he's not a bad dude. Actually, he's nice. He's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. I was like, why? Like, I had a bad picture of him in my head before I ever even knew him. I was like, that's pretty jacked up. Mm-hmm. And then from that moment forward, like I remembered, like that was back. It had to be like 2008, 2009, you know, because that's when I was there. And like from that moment on, I always, whenever I would see somebody or whatever, and I would start thinking some things, I'm like, or not.
Yeah.
Or not.
We do that all the time. You heard me talk to the kids about it.
Yeah.
One of their friends told Audrey something about a teacher. So Audrey, I told her, I said, don't go into that classroom with that thought in your head. You get to know that teacher.
Right.
And we do it all the time. Oh, that wasn't a good movie. Oh, that movie, blah, 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 blah.
Find out for yourself.
Or someone. You're talking about someone. You're gossiping about someone to someone. And that someone doesn't even know the person you're gossiping about. But say there's a party and then they meet this person and they're already with the wall up because of what was planted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happens in all kinds of things.
And I think
not just relationships.
And I think there's there is also, because I've also heard like don't judge a book by its cover, right?
Right.
There's a fucking reason why books have covers. So that you could judge the fucking book by the cover. That's the reason for the cover. And I think like there's differences.
Right.
Because this is not that. Because I had already made a determination on who Donald was before I met him. Now, once I meet him, pretty quickly, I don't have to get to know everything about him. Mm-hmm. But pretty quickly, I'm going to get a sense of who Donald is. Mm-hmm. And then I can start making some determinations for myself. And that may be judging the book by the cover because you don't know, you haven't read the whole book.
Right.
You've only read the cover, and the cover is enough for me to know that maybe I don't want to read the rest of this book.
Right. But even if you feel that way, to not speak ill about that person to someone else because you don't know the full story.
Yeah.